if you're in Ohio and you voted yesterday, you voted on issue 1, which would have changed the state rules on gerrymandering. The measure, it did not pass, with 53.8% of the votes going against it. And this morning, Miami University Professor John Forren is joining us to tell us a little bit more about issue 1. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so for many, or for some voters, this was an issue just due to the Supreme Court's ruling Ohio's redistricting maps unconstitutional because it violated the partisan gerrymandering guidelines. So with that, just kind of tell us what it would mean, what it would have meant for citizens to have that redistricting power.
Well, what it means that it failed ultimately is that we are staying with the rules of the game that we had before, with a 7-person panel of elected officials drawing our lines. So had it passed, there was a lot of speculation on both sides as to how much of a difference that would have made in terms of what our districts ultimately look like in Ohio. We don't know for sure what that would have looked like because there are really no parallels in other states we can point to for evidence of how it would have worked out. But it's clear that a change in the rules would have offered a prospect for districts that look considerably different. So the fact that it didn't pass means we are in a status quo kind of moment, although, these things are never decided, ultimately, finally speaking. So we have another election right around the corner. So, and I would expect this kind of issue to come back on the ballot, perhaps not in a presidential election year, which does affect sort of the electorate that you're asking votes from, essentially.
And so, for many years, Ohio was a swing state, and so it's slowly becoming more and more of a, actually now we are just a red state. Do you think that the redistricting and the lines, does that play a big issue in that?
Yeah, it's interesting because the results of last night's election show that we are in Ohio not a swing state currently, so in that sense it is natural to have a Republican majority in the legislature. So, in terms of how that affected the outcome last night, it's certainly important that it was a presidential election year. Voter turnout was much higher than it typically would be in an off-year election. And so in some sense, the broader partisan debate that's going on in the state and in the nation affected the outcome of issue 1 as well.
Now, you did mention before that this possibly is an issue that could come back again. How do you think that will resurface? Does language need to be changed? What needs to happen?
I think that there's going to be a lot of discussion of that, actually, among proponents of this ballot issue. A postmortem of what could have been done differently. It's clearly the language on the ballot was controversial, to say the least, because it was lengthy, it was confusing, and I think the advertisements on this issue were very confusing to voters, and we saw evidence of that. In terms of does it come back? How does it come back? These issues are not going away in Ohio or throughout the nation. So I would expect the issue to be back in front of voters in some sense in the future. But I think decisions have to be made by proponents as to when and how ultimately.
Again, it's a conversation we'll probably be talking about for many more years, weeks to come. Thank you, John Forren, for giving us some insight on this.